Good morning. This is Bob from County Records Research, and today is Friday, April 21st. It's almost the end of the month. We got one more week to go, and this is an opportunity for us to look at some properties that are going to go to auction next week, the last week of April 2017. So we're going to jump in and take a look at some properties here. This is our Friday presentation. For those of you that have not looked at our presentations previously, every Wednesday we look at how to use the website. We give you navigation tips as well as tips on how to use your account with the website, saving properties, saving searches, and various just basic steps on how to do your research on the site. On Fridays, we take a little bit more of a direct approach in terms of how we look at properties that are on their way to auction and how we can use this information effectively to become a better researcher and to become a better investor. So I've got the visual portion of the screen visible now, and we're going to go ahead and get started by selecting the option to log into my account, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my username and my password, and then we're going to go ahead and type in the image in the lower box here. I think I can make it out even though it's got these squiggly lines through it, so I'm going to give it a shot. Notice that I'm not capitalizing the letters in the box. I'm just simply typing the numbers and the letters in the order as I see them, and if I got it right, once I hit the submit button, it's going to say welcome, and I'm in. So welcome, and I'm into my account. Now, once I'm into my account, you'll notice that the login option is gone up on top, and instead I have the option of selecting property search, or I can go over to the My Account button, and notice underneath My Account there are a series of subheadings, and this is where I can go in and I can select one of my previously set searches. We teach you how to set up these searches on our Wednesday presentation, but let me just show you what's in my account before we actually start looking at some properties. Notice under My Account is the My Account option, and this is where I look at my information on my own account if I want to change something, or if I want to just update myself as to what my renewal date is. This shows that my account renews on the 24th of the month, so obviously that means that as of next Monday my account will renew for another month of service. Okay, now once I'm into my account section, I can select the My Properties option by selecting the tab here, and this shows me my Properties general folder. Now this is all the properties that I've saved in various folders on my account. Notice that I have two different types of property records in the system. These ones up on top have more information. These are notice of sale records. The ones at the bottom have less information. These are notices of default. Now again, remember that whenever we're looking at foreclosure properties, we have two main types of documents. We have the notices of default, which our system usually shows at the bottom of a report, and we have the notices of sale, which our system shows at the top of a report. When I've saved these property records into a folder like My Properties, then if I bunched two different types of properties into that folder, as we're showing here in my general folder, then I'm going to see the two separated so that the sale notices are on top and the default notices are on the bottom. Notice also, sale notices, as I said, have more information, because by the time the notice of sale has been issued, the foreclosure has gone on for at least 3 months, and at that point the lender is giving us a good snapshot of the whole situation. They're giving us the estimated minimum bid, or the amount that's owed to the lender, and they're giving us an auction date when it's set to go to sale. And then our system is doing some math and giving us a proposed auction equity amount. We get a lot of questions about the auction equity. Just remember, what our system is doing is it's summing up the amount owed on the foreclosing loan and any senior loans, and then it's omitting any junior loans on the property. So bottom line is, your auction equity is acting under the assumption that the lender is going to ask for the amount that they are owed on the notice of sale, and they're going to take and it's going to add what appears to be owed on any senior loans. So this is a foreclosing second on a property in Reseda. If it's a second, the auction equity will take what's owed on that second loan and add what's owed on the first loan, and then compare that to the estimated value of the property, and then come up with an auction equity figure. Because the assumption is that whatever is owed on the foreclosing loan plus what's ever owed on the first, the senior debt, will be the amount that I'm paying at the auction. Even though I'm only going to pay the second off at the auction, that first won't go away. So our auction equity is taking that into account. If I have a foreclosing first loan, then the system is simply saying that I'm going to pay that first loan off at the auction, and that second is on its own because it's going to be wiped off the property at the auction. Okay, so whenever we look at these figures, just remember that this auction equity is subject to change because there can be differences. When it actually goes to auction, the lender can discount and drop the opening bid. That happens quite a lot. Here's an example of a property in Irvine where the lender took an estimated amount of $12,000 and dropped it down to 11. So that's a very small difference. But here's another example of a property in Sacramento where the lender was owed $182,000 and they dropped it down to $155,000. So bottom line is, our auction equity is based on that 182. It doesn't go through and change the calculation once that opening bid has been dropped by the lender. So if you ever have questions about those figures, just let us know, give us a call, or you can use our chat button. Notice we have that chat button at the upper right hand corner. Whenever it's got the green light and it says online, that means there's an operator standing by to answer questions for you. So don't hesitate to get your questions answered immediately by selecting chat. Now, so this is my general property folder. And then if I wanted to go into any of my subfolders, I have a bunch here, then I can select, for instance, Bob's Houses, and then the system will eliminate anything that's not in my Bob's Houses folder. And so now I'm looking at my Bob's Houses folder. I've got a property in Fountain Valley and a property in Irvine. Okay, so these are simply properties that I've saved to my Properties folder. You can learn about that on our Wednesdays. I've created all my folders here with my Manage Folders tab, right? And then I've also got a group of saved searches that I've put together over time where I can save searches and I can activate them by selecting the Activate Notification option and turn them into an automated search that will deliver new records into my email inbox on a daily basis that match the criteria of the search that I've created. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and deactivate that one. We're going to get out of the my account information and we're going to select Property Search, and we're going to take a look at some properties because that's what Fridays are all about. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select today Los Angeles County South. This is one of my favorite areas. This is where I bought my first house. I actually bought my first condo in Garden Grove, and that's another story. But my first house that I bought was in Lakewood. Okay, so now I know that Lakewood is in LA County South, as is Long Beach, Cerritos, and a bunch of other cities. But I'm going to go ahead and pick LA County South because I'm familiar with it, and it just kind of facilitates my research. Also, a really strong point. If you are a target area person, if you're looking for properties in a certain area, you know, if you're curious, you can look at other areas. But remember, our focus should be to start, you know, we're hunters. So, you know, you look for the gazelle where the gazelle are, okay? And you look for the properties that you want to buy where they are. So, you know, we want to look geographically in a target area, and then we also want to look categorically for the properties that match our needs. If I want to buy fourplexes, I'm going to hunt for fourplexes. If I want to buy single-family homes, I'm going to hunt for single-family homes. Now, let's take, for example, Los Angeles County South. I want to buy properties there. And let's say, for instance, that I want to go bid at the auction, okay? And let's say that I'm planning to grab my cashier's checks. I've got money burning a hole in my pocket, and I want to go bid at the auction on Monday. Now, Monday is the 24th. So if I scroll down the page, I'm going to select upcoming sales. Notice whenever we get to this section, this is our choose one box. This is our first categorical choice that we make. So when I select under the choose one section, I select one of my categories. It's based again on you know, what am I targeting? So for instance, I had a client I spoke to this morning was interested in properties that have sold to third-party bidders because he's actually looking to contact people that lost their property. Okay, so he had a very specific need. So if I wanted to do that, I might select properties that sold to bidders. Now notice if I pick properties that sold, then I'm going to get an auction date range that's in the past. Now whenever we're setting up a search with any of these categories, we're going to get a date range in these boxes below. Now that date range is either looking forward or it's looking backward. Now if I wanted properties that sold to other bidders, then I'm looking backward to auctions that already took place. Just like if I wanted to buy properties that have gone REO, which means that the bank took it back after the auction, I would choose new REO, lender owned. Okay, so but if I want properties that sold at auction to someone else, not the bank, I would ask for properties sold to bidders. Now the system's automatically going to kick out a date range of 2 weeks, and again, based on the category I've chosen up on top, this is a 2-week range that ends in today's date but goes backwards 2 weeks. Now, using that, if I just select the search button, I should get a report, and I do. Here's my report of 22 records. Now notice whenever we do a search, it gives us 0 to 20 when we first set up the search, and then if it's more than 20, I want to go down here and click on the 40 and tell the system I want to see up to 40, and therefore all 22 records are now visible. So these are properties that sold to bidders, just like you and me, at the auction in LA County South in the last 2 weeks. This is a good example of properties that other people bought. Now, to you and I got to say, you know, this helps give us get a measure if we look at the sold amounts of what some people are paying at the auction. Now, I always tell people when we're talking about properties that sell at auction, there's basically 3 levels of pricing at the trustee sale. There is the flipper, okay? The person that wants to buy that property and turn it over and make a profit. That is the person who is going to be willing to spend the smallest amount of money at the auction. Because if I'm going to flip that house, I want to make some money, right? So that flipper is going to be the one that has what I call the lowest threshold of pain as far as the price at the sale. Now, after the flipper comes the buy and hold strategist. Like Kurt, the founder of our company, is a buy and hold strategist. Sometimes he'll pay a little bit more for a property simply because he found that it's exactly what he wants in the area he wants, and he's simply going to buy that property by making an offer, or he'll buy it at the auction and he'll pay a little bit more than he would have normally if he was interested in flipping it. Now, if he's going to do buy and hold, then he knows he's going to make his money over time, so he can afford to spend a little bit more in the transaction. Okay, now the final one is the person that's buying because they have a subjective or non-financial reason to buy that property. Daddy wants to buy his little girl and her new husband a house across the street, and it's going to auction. Well, if Daddy has the cash, he's going to pay whatever it takes to buy her that house so he can walk across the street and hold his grandkids. Okay, you are not going to outbid Grandpa. Okay. However, if that situation appears, it's not going to be every day. Most of your investors at the auction are just like you and I. They're investors. They're either going to be buy and hold or buy and flip, and so they're going to set a specific price point for themselves. So when we're coaching you to bid at the auction, we're simply telling you, be aware and know that when that lender opens up that auction, either someone's going to be willing to bid it up, or someone's going to be looking to get an aggressive price, and somebody's going to say uncle first. Okay, now if we're in the right place at the right time, sometimes we're the only bidder except the bank. And if the bank has a set price point and they open that bid and we're the only bidder that stands up to it, then we're going to wind up getting that property. So just remember, not every auction is competitive. Sometimes you simply have someone who gets a property for a penny over the opening bid. And when that happens, that's exciting. And it happens, okay? As an example, here's a property in Carson that sold recently. This went to sale on the 10th. And it looks like the lender opened the auction for $415, $263 and 10 cents. And it looks like at the auction, the bidder got the property, and the price point looks like it's the same. Whenever you see it's identical, if it didn't go REO, then that means the guy said a penny. That means they went a penny over. Okay. Now, the very next one in Compton, this opened at $333. This is a property that's supposedly worth $588,000. They opened at $333 because that's all they were owed. Okay, and at that auction it went to $376 and $100. So they were at $376 and one guy said and $100, and the other guy couldn't top it. So the bidding stopped right there. So this person got a $588,000 property for $200,000 below market by being in the right place at the right time, and the other guy gave up after he hit this $100 over the 376. So the other guy probably ran at it at 376. Okay. Now notice the very next property on Loma Vista in Bell. This is worth evidently $456 according to our comps. The bidding went to $431.5, very close to market value. This might be a multifamily. Okay. This person came within 20,000, 25 grand of market. That doesn't leave a lot of room for a flip. So I'm wondering if maybe that's a multifamily. Maybe that party bought a multifamily and was willing to spend a little bit more. So this is how we look at properties that sold at auction to a third-party bidder. Okay, I could pick REOs the same way, or we can do what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to look at what's going to go to auction next week. Now, whenever I pick upcoming trustee sales, it gives me an auction date range looking forward. Remember, because we're looking at upcoming sales, not ones from before. And what I'm going to now do is I'm going to modify the date range, because upcoming sales, it gives me, again, a 2-week range starting in today's date and then looking forward 2 weeks. But that's too wide a range. Let's see how many that gives me. 265 records. Wow, that's too many. 265 records. I'm not going to weed through that. That's going to take too long. So I'm going to close that out. And I'm going to do 2 things here. First of all, I'm going to change my auction date to just Monday, the 24th, in the first box. Now this is a range. If I don't change anything else, if I don't change that second date, I'm still going to get a week and a half worth of records. So I'm going to change this next date to the 24th as well. So now I've made my date range 1 day. Okay. Now, let's say I want to go to the auction in Pomona, because that's the primary location for LA County. So now I'm going to go ahead down here and I'm going to hit the sale location option, and I'm going to scroll down to 400 Civic Center Plaza in Pomona, and I'm selecting just that location. Okay. Now, let's do one more thing. Next to my search button is only active sales. This is an option I can click on, and that eliminates any canceled sales from the report. Because again, we're assuming I want to go to the auction on Monday and bid with cashier's checks. So I've isolated to just Monday. I've isolated to just Civic Center Plaza in Pomona at the 400 Civic Center Plaza address, and just properties that are currently going to auction. Now, I could also specify that I only want foreclosing firsts by putting a 1 in the loan position column, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click that out, because if it's a second and it's a deal, I don't want to miss it. Okay, because I'm focusing on what the deals are, and a lot of people won't bid on seconds because they're afraid of it. Fine by me. You know, that other person's fear is my opportunity. So that's why a lot of people don't bid at auction, is they don't feel that it's safe. And I can tell you this, it's not safe if you don't ask questions. If you don't do your homework, if you're not prepared for it, then if you go to bid at auction, you know, people have made the error of not having a service like ours and picking the ad out of the paper, picking the legal notice out of the paper and saying, hey, this house is going to auction. I'm going to go buy it. and they don't realize that they have to do their homework. So remember, the reason you're with us is that we teach you how to do your homework. You can't pass the test if you don't study, right? And you can't get a good deal on a property if you don't know how to read the data. And that's where we teach you to do your homework. So that being said, I've got only active sales, 400 Civic Center Plaza, got Monday's date, and remember, up on top we picked only LA County South, so we're only getting the South Bay area south of Los Angeles proper. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit my search button, search without Polygon, and let's see how many we got. A very short list. This is excellent. So I've got 13 properties. Now, because the system always gives me 20, I've got all 13 visible because it says 0 to 20 of 13. So this is a perfect start. So looking at this report, these are all for Monday. They're all for South LA County. And I can organize them further if I want to. I've got Cerritos, Lakewood, a lot of Long Beach. There's always a lot of Long Beach for some reason. I guess a lot of folks that have owned their houses for a while or run into trouble. So I've always found that as I do my reports for LA County South, certain cities pop up a lot. Whittier pops up a lot, Long Beach pops up a lot. Compton too. But not as often as Long Beach, but sometimes you do get a bunch that pop up all at once. But let's start down the report. First one's on Carnaby Street in Cerritos. Now this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,283 square feet. It's worth approximately $645,000. Now, that note on our estimated value, this is a comparable. This is an arm's length transaction purchase price somebody can buy a property like this one for. Does it mean this particular house is specifically worth $645,000? I don't know because I haven't seen it. Now, the comparables that go for $645,000 are probably turnkey properties in the same area that have recently sold through an escrow, and that's how we get these numbers from a title company. So if $645,000 is the potential price I can sell a house for fixed up, and I'm buying a foreclosure which is very likely not fixed up, then I know that this is not my purchase target. My purchase target is significantly less. Okay, if I could fix this up for 25 grand and then sell it for 640, then obviously I want to pay less than 6 to buy the property. Just a good rule of thumb. And if you're not sure, whenever you're trying to target your properties, that's the first challenge everyone has to match. What do I want to pay for that property, and can I get there from here? Okay, now this property has a loan, and the amount owed to the lender is $684,000, so $40,000 more than the comparable value we're showing. Plus, this is a foreclosing first. Notice the loan position column, and there's a second of $100,000. So we can say, without even opening the profile, these people owe approximately $800,000 on this property. Because if they're behind on the first, they're behind on the second. Okay, so they owe easily $800,000 on a house that's worth about $645,000. So if I was going to go to the property owner and make an offer this weekend, it would be a short sale because I'm asking them to accept less than what they owe the bank. That's a short sale by definition. I'm asking them to short the bank through the escrow. Now, if they accept my offer and we close, then the bank has to accept it too. And because there's not just one loan, there's two, then I potentially have two lenders that also have a say in the matter. So when I make a short sale offer, I'm not just working with the homeowner, I'm also working with the bank. So let's open up this property in Cerritos and take a look. So Jennifer Lee is our homeowner. She's also on title as or on the loan as the trustor. Notice we have trustor and owner. So Jennifer Lee borrowed the money. She's the trustor. Okay, the bank trusted her with their money and their mistake. Okay, now she's also the owner of the property. She's on title. Also, notice the mailing address is on Carnaby Street and the property is on Carnaby Street. Our property details is the property itself. This information is about Jennifer. So it appears that Jennifer lives in the house. And it appears that she lives in the house without paying her lender for a long, long time. And how do I know that? First of all, notice the loan itself for $487,500 was from December of 2006. Okay, so this is what, an 11-year-old loan. where she borrowed $487 and now she owes $684. So it's gone up by about $200,000. That's quite a few missed payments for Jennifer. Now, also notice that the second here is an almost brand new loan, okay? Jennifer borrowed, it looks like either an equity line or a conventional loan in second position on February 1st of 2016, a year ago, for $100,000. Now, you'd think that she would have used that money to bring her first loan current, but no. Okay, so we now have a picture of what's going on with Jennifer. I could go make her a short sale offer, in which case I'd be offering her a certain amount, like let's say for instance $500,000. Now notice I didn't think too hard on that number. What I'm thinking about is the fact that our system says the house is worth $645. And now she's lived in it since 2001, so she's lived there for approximately 16 years, okay? She's refinanced it not once but twice, and I betcha that she hasn't fixed the place up because she's not paying her lenders, okay? So I have to tell you that I believe honestly that if I open the front door, this house is going to need some work. And if I think I can sell it for $645, what if I'm wrong? What if I put 25 grand into it and all the offers I got are for $610? Okay, then I could lose my shirt. So as an investor, I have to ask myself, what am I doing with this? Now, if I'm buying the house to live in it, as I said, I can offer, closer to market because I'm buying it for myself. But if I'm turning this over, or if I'm going to turn it into a rental, then I have to take into account the fact that I better get it below market. That's the whole point of buying a foreclosure, right? Otherwise, just go make offers to any old Tom, Dick, and Harry that's got their house listed with an agent. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the profile image. Notice the map. I'm going to zoom in using the wheel on my mouse. I like the wheel on my mouse. It gives me more control. If you have a tablet with a touch screen, notice that you have these little buttons here that allow you to zoom in and out, but they're a little exaggerated in terms of how much they zoom in and out. So I like using the wheel on my mouse. I just feel it gives me more control. Then I click on the bird's eye option and I see the property. Okay, nothing spectacular. She's got a little patio awning in the back. Okay, nothing spectacular. This is a typical house. Now, the house was built in 1968. We see here under the property details. Okay, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And again, I don't think she's done a lot of fixing because she's borrowed money out and she doesn't make her payments. So she has issues. So I'm going to assume if I go to make an offer that I'm going to make an offer that's probably in the range of $500 to $550. Because I can offer $550, and then when I get in my inspection during the escrow, then I can try and bring the price down. Okay, if it goes to auction, then this lender, if this goes to auction on Monday, this lender, if they open the auction at this price, the $684, it's going to be a ghost town. Nobody's going to bid. So I'm going to predict right now a drop bid. I'm going to predict that the lender is going to open the auction somewhere between $5 and $550. And at that price, somebody might pick it up. Okay, if they go too high, if they even try around $650, nobody's going to buy it. Okay, so I'm already going to predict that would be a mistake on their part. Now, one thing I also like to do is I like to hit the Views Estimate button just to see if she's got it listed with an agent, and she doesn't. It says it's off the market. Okay, now Zillow also says it's worth about $657. So they're at $657. We're at $645. Notice there's a slight difference of about 12 grand. Okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and so is the comparable value of a home. So who's right? Anybody could be right. Okay, if you really think about it and you do your numbers, this house might only be resellable for $630, and it still might need 20 grand in work. Okay, in which case this is like a $610 property or less. Okay, so notice as you play with the numbers, you're going to get more comfortable with the idea of asking yourself, what am I willing to pay for this property? Okay, and that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking between $5 and $550 because if I buy this property, I'm going to have to do some work on it because I can bet you Jennifer has not made this house tricked out, okay, because she's struggling. She's taken out a lot of cash. I don't know what she did with it, but I can guarantee you this house is not as nice as it could be, because if it was, she wouldn't be in foreclosure, because, you know, obviously she's not good with her money. And she just took out this $100,000 in 2016. You would think she would have used that to either bring her first current or to trick the house out and put it on the market. She did neither. Okay, so she's struggling, and she got somebody to loan her this money in 2016. And let me make another important point. She was already behind on her first when she borrowed the second loan. That to me is you know, a word of caution, okay? Because you can go make an offer to her, but if you make her a short sale offer on this property, chances are that this second is not going to agree to take a haircut because their loan's only a year old. Okay, and they got hoodwinked. They never should have lent her this money, because she already owed pretty much market value when she borrowed the money from them. Okay, so bottom line is this: we know what's going on with this property. It's very likely that if you go to make an offer, she's been living there for free for a while and borrowing out of the house. I don't think she'll take it. I think she's going to live there as long as she can for free. Okay, but you could try. Okay, but the bottom line is I think this one's going to end up going to auction, and if it goes on Monday, then I think the lender's going to drop the bid, and you're going to see an opening bid somewhere around 550 or less. And I would hope, cross my fingers, that it's closer to 5. And if I was the bidder, like yourself, then I would be at the auction with my cashier's checks, and I'd set a cap for myself. I will not go over. Okay, whether it's 525, 515, whatever it is. And if they open the bid at 560, you just say forget it. Okay, make sure you have a maximum bid price. Just like if you were going to go to make her an offer, you'd have a maximum price when you write up your offer to buy the property. Okay, because we go with the price in mind, and we try and get the property for that price, and don't let the other party push you over your limit. Okay, because we have to have self-control, we have to have focus, otherwise we could end up spending too much on a property and you can't make money that way. Okay, so I'm going to close this property out. Let's go to the next one. This is on Fiddler Avenue in Lakewood. Okay, my old stomping ground, Lakewood. So this one on Fiddler, this is also a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was probably built in 52. Okay, and what we have, it's got a value of about 559. The bank's owed 577, so it's upside down with the first only. Okay, and the second was 154.5. Notice I said was, because we don't know how far behind that second is. Okay, they might be owing 200,000 on that second by now. Okay, now auction equity is a negative number, just like it was with Carnaby. And again, auction equity tells us that at the auction, the lender, if it's negative, the lender's probably going to have to discount. Okay, and if I were the lender, I would discount significantly more than that negative figure, because otherwise no one's going to buy my property. Okay, now the lender is holding the auction at a certain price, and they are either going to take that cash figure at the auction to let you become the owner, or they're going to end up taking the property at that price point. Okay, and it's going to become an REO. So this one on Fiddler, we have a foreclosing first. Now there's 3 loans on this property. Now looks like the purchase date was 04. The loans are from 05, so these are all refi loans. So this person bought their property for $476 in 04. And in 2005, the property had gone up in value, so they bumped it up. They raised their borrowing amount to $490, okay, total. And then they took out another $100,000 the next year when the market went up again. So Jose and Lori, okay, they are the trustors. That's who borrowed the money. They're also on title as the Jose A. Benitez Living Trust. So they re-recorded ownership in the name of the trust. Okay, so the trust owns the property. Jose and Lori borrowed the money. Okay, now the first that's foreclosing from 05 was 436. It's now 577. Okay, so notice it's now 577. It's gone up about 140K. So if That's gone up $140,000 in the last 12 years. What's the odds that these other loans have gone up? Because that's gone up about 30%. So the other loans, I'm going to say, have gone up about 30% as well. Okay, it's just a good rule of thumb to remember that when someone stops paying their lender, they're going to stop paying every lender. Okay, whatever crisis happened in their lives, it was a bad enough crisis for them to stop paying their first. They're not paying their second, and they're not paying their third. Just keep that in mind. Now, so if I went to go make an offer knowing that they owe $580 on the first, I'm going to say that they probably owe about $800,000 on this place total. So they're way upside down. Okay, now I could make a short sale offer, but then I've got 3 different loans in here, right? So I got 3 different potential lenders that have a say in the matter on a short sale. Doesn't mean it won't close. It just means that there's going to be some haggling in between these parties. And if I go in and offer $400,000 for this place, then one of these lenders could say, forget that, and it's dead. Okay, it's very likely that the only solution here is that the first is going to take this to auction, and then they're going to discount it at the auction and sell the property. Okay, now, so if they're owed $577 and the place was worth about $560, then they're going to have to discount at the auction. So I anticipate, again, another opening bid in the low $400,000 range. Okay, I'm going to click Zillow just to see if it's listed. Not listed. So these folks, they're waiting it out. They're waiting it out. They've been living there not making payments for a while, and again, they're waiting it out. So this has to go to sale. The lender's going to need to discount it, and I anticipate, now some people ask us about junior loan buyouts, buying seconds at a discount. Remember, the second is off the table unless there's equity well above the first, and the first is owed over $570. So there's no equity in this property. The second is off the table, and so is the third. So this is not grounds for a junior lender buyout. It's either a short sale or a discount at the auction. And chances are they're going to stay there until they have to leave, because this is all refi money. They borrowed money out of the property. This is money, and I'm sure they've spent it. Okay, they were living off the property's equity. Okay, so that's done. All right, next one's a property on Reeves Street in Compton. Now, this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And this one is owed $326, and it's worth about $352. Now, these pop up periodically in our system, so I always like to point them out when I see them. This is a reverse mortgage property. This is a property owner who owned their property and refinanced it with a reverse mortgage to take money out. Okay, and now something has happened, perhaps a death in the family or perhaps a crisis where they had to move this person out of the house and it's no longer their residence. There are different reasons why a reverse mortgage will call the note, but that's what the lender's doing, is they're calling the note because the terms of the agreement have been broken either by the homeowner passing on, or by the homeowner moving out of the property, or not making their tax payments, or failing to keep insurance on the property. It can be something that minor. But once that reverse mortgage lender starts sending the nasty letters and saying, hey, fix this, or if it's unfixable, if the person's passed, then it's going to go to foreclosure. Now, so I'm going to open up Reeve and see what we got here. We've got a Rachel Malone is the trustor, so Rachel's the one who took out the reverse mortgage. Okay, and the number for $469,342, that was going to be the maximum point for the mortgage. The amount they actually paid out was this $326,000 figure here. So she took it out 12 years ago. She got paid out $326,000. See, I kind of describe a reverse mortgage. It's like a time release equity line. You know how you take like a time release capsule, and the little capsule thingies will like time release and a little bit at a time. With a reverse mortgage, it pays out monthly like an annuity. And so it's a time release. Every month you get another check. Every month you get a check. Every month you get a check. Eventually, what's going to happen is the person no longer is available to take the checks. And in that situation, the lender will call the note, they'll cap it off, and then they will notify the family that they need to do something about it. So now, either there are no family members left, or the family members failed to take action, because what they could have done if there's family still in the house is they could have gotten a new loan that paid off the 326 that Rachel had received as payments. Okay, now that is the way to for a family to hold on to the property, and they have the option, unless there's no family there, or unless the family members just dropped the ball. Okay, now can I go to this property and make an offer to someone who has signature authority for Rachel? You bet. Now obviously that hasn't been done. Okay, now let's check to see if the family has put the house on the market. Bingo! This one's for sale for $299. So they're asking $299. They're calling this a handyman special. Okay, so bottom line, so it says this is a great investment opportunity. That's why you came here, right? So they have it listed at $299 with an agent. And because I like to check to see what the property is like, this is funny. Okay, so notice this agent gives us a look at a backyard that's terrible, a look at a kitchen that's terrible, okay, and a look at the front. Okay, not impressed. Okay, so what we have is a rundown house that they owe about $326, and they've got it on sale. What did I say? $299. $299. So it's listed at $299. Do your math. What are you willing to pay for this place? They're already listing it as a short sale. They're hoping the lender will take a haircut. Find out how much of a haircut they'll take. You know, go there with a shears, give them a buzz cut, offer them two. You know, how much work is this house going to need? Okay, so I'm going to zoom in and do the bird's eye. Decent sized lot. Okay, the lot's not bad. Now the image online is terrible, but you've got a lot of area that you can work with here if you wanted to dress this property up. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting little neighborhood. Notice that you've got a lot of residential properties, not a main street, because look at this. This is not bad actually. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my road view, zoom out a little bit. So this is Alondra and Central. So, you know, for a neighborhood in Compton, this ain't bad. So it comes down to that thing. You want to get a beat up house in a decent little neighborhood that's off the beaten path. This is going to be a quiet spot, and you got to ask yourself, how much am I willing to spend, knowing I'm probably going to have to put about 25 to 50K into this place? Okay, now maybe you can get away with it for less. Maybe you've got a friend who's a contractor, or maybe you're a contractor and you know how to lift a hammer and a paintbrush and get the job done. Great, do that. But be aware, it's listed at $299, and the realtor knows that a savvy investor knows they need to make some money. So I would make an offer in between $2 and $275. Okay, give myself enough room to make money. The lender here with the reverse mortgage is Wells Fargo. That's who the lender is. They know what's up. Okay, so make your low offer. What could it hurt? Now, if nobody closes on an offer, because maybe people are looking at that and saying, $299 is too much. You know, that house that I mentioned that I bought in Lakewood, they had that thing. They were asking, at that time, I was close to $290. I offered $130. I got it at $138. Seriously, okay? Because the party was desperate, okay? Why do we go after foreclosures? Because we're going after somebody desperate. Tom made a comment that it just sold for $200K on the 14th. Wow, Tom, where'd you pick that up? Off the MLS? Everybody, Tom just made that note that this place just sold for $200K on the 14th. So I got to tell you, I like to hear good news. That means that somebody did exactly what I specified. That's good news, Tom. And where did you find that? Did you find that on did you find that on the MLS? I'm going to go back over to Zillow and I'm going to scroll down and see if they have it. Okay, Zillow hasn't picked it up yet. Oh, they had a pending sale. They did have a pending sale. Okay, this is interesting. Notice this price change. All right, Tom, gotcha. But here, notice what I just found on Zillow. They did have a pending sale at $200,000, and then it looks like on April 17th they picked up a price change to $299, like they switched realtors. So Tom's got an inside scoop. Good for you, Tom. But if they got this sold at 200, that's exciting, and it means that I was on the right track. And it means you could have been that party that got this property at 200,000. And if that did in fact happen, if that escrow was closed, then this is done, okay? And it won't go to sale on Monday. That sale will be canceled, okay? And I want to say thank you to Tom for that little piece of information because that's really cool. Okay, so we're going to move to the very next one in Gardena. My old stomping ground. I was born in Gardena, and we used to live over by Raleigh Park on Wilkie Avenue. This is on 146th Street. It's probably near there. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Now we're showing a market value of about $440 on this one, and the bank is owed $392, it looks like, on a foreclosing first. Okay, so now our system is not picking up a second, so it looks like there's only the one loan. So it looks like $392 was the amount owed at the time the notice of sale was issued, and it looks like we're picking up a market value of $440. So there appears to be about a $50K equity position in this property as we speak. Now at the auction, the lender could ask for what they're owed, or they can discount. They could create a drop bid. Similarly, if I go to make an offer to the current owner, I could make a short sale offer and come in below the $390 figure if I think that this place needs a lot of work. So let's open up the 146th Street property in Gardena and see what we can see. So what do we have? We have Mario and Letitia. So Mario and Letitia are the trustors. That's who borrowed the money. They're also on title as the owner. Okay, so Mario and Letitia own the property. The mailing address and the house address are the same. So this is their home. Now, they have a loan from 05. Now this is interesting. Notice the purchase date down below, 1973. Wow. So 1973 is a purchase date, and Mario and Letitia refinanced in 2005 and took out $241,500. So I have to say that if they bought this in 73, you're probably looking at quite an old couple, right? All right. If this is in fact the original buyers, this could have been an interfamily transfer from parent to child. And we're just not picking that up because the parents bought it in 73. Now, the loan that was taken out in 05 as a refinance loan for $241, that's now owed $392. It's gone up by $150,000. Okay, now that's a challenge to the borrower because there's no way they're going to come up with enough to fix that. Okay, they're 150 grand in the hole. Once you're that far down, you're down. Okay, now let's look at what else we've got here. This house was built in 1948. It's in Gardena on 146th Street. The market value right now is about $440, as I said earlier. Let's see if it's listed because they have some equity in the property. Now, Zillow says it's worth about $435. I don't see any evidence of a listing. Nope, no history whatsoever. They bought it for $84,000 way back in 73. Okay, so now there's no evidence of an effort to sell the property or list it. I'm going to hit my bird's eye option and take a look. Okay, not bad. Look at all the cars. Okay, look at all the cars. Okay, so I'm going to make a guess that the mom and dad bought this property, and maybe Mario and Letitia are the mom and dad, or maybe this property was, again, transferred into her family, and a son or daughter took it over, and that's the party that's failed to make the payments. That happens a lot of the time. Okay, now in this particular case, you might have an opportunity here because you could make that short sale offer, as I said, or be prepared to go to the auction, because I think the lender in this case could still discount at the sale. Okay, now you could get it at the auction. Now, one point I want to make here is, look, the list date on this notice of sale is from January. So that 392 figure, that was as of 3 months ago. Okay, so just be aware that that figure has gone up. They probably owe closer to 400,000 today. Okay, but again, the lender could easily take this down to $300,000 at the auction if they wanted to, depending upon the condition of the property. See, now what they do is they're going to send out an agent, a broker. They're going to get what's called a broker's price opinion. Okay, that broker's price opinion is going to be an independent perspective on what that broker thinks that property could sell for in its current condition. Okay, now that lender is going to take that figure and they're going to say, all right, that's what it could sell for in an escrow, but this is going to go to auction. And at the auction, people are paying cash. They're not waiting to close an escrow. I'm going to get my cash that day. So the lender is going to take and they're going to set a net liquidation value because they're just liquidating it. They are not creating a comparable. This 440 figure has nothing to do with the price at the auction. That's a good question. Carla's question is, does the BPO agent actually get into the property? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. Okay, I know the agent can go and converse with the homeowner. They could ask, but I don't think the lender is required to allow them in. Okay, I think a lot of what the agent does is based on perception, based on going to the property and taking a look around. Similarly, like an appraiser, when an appraiser comes by and takes a look at your property, they take measurements. Okay, and a lot of their measurements are the exterior of the property. They don't necessarily care that much about the inside. Okay, because their basic valuation figures are not critical in terms of, you know, the look of the property on the inside. It's more the basic stuff. So they're going to have a floor plan. They're going to go to the property and they're going to take a look and see if there have been modifications from the original floor plan. Now I got to say, looking at this image, it looks like they've modified it. Now remember, the agent also has access to this type of information too. So looking at this image of the house, it looks like they at least put in a patio in the back. So there's been some modification to the property, and it looks like they might have added a room on the back. So it looks like there have been some additions. Now, if they do get in, they're going to have a better perspective. One of the things that I always like to do, and that's why I always check Zillow, is to see if they ever listed it recently, and of course they didn't. So we don't have the additional benefit of seeing what an agent representing the homeowner has added. But I can tell you, just looking at this and comparing it to the other houses on the block, because these were all built at the same time, that I'm really, you know, I'm assuming that there's some additions that were done, and so that this is going to be on the higher end compared to some of the other properties in the area, but it's still going to have some disrepair issues, and it's very likely that the agent's going to say, well, I think I can sell it for such and such, and then they're going to have a calculation that's going to, you know, give them a figure. And, you know, again, I got to say, they're going to find a number, I think, under 400,000, in between, like, I'd say 330 and 4. So I'm going to guess that they're going to probably hold the auction at about 340, and I think there probably would be a taker at 340, assuming that they've already done some fix-it on the property. You know, I would hope that the homeowner would be willing to accept a short sale offer, because I think the lender would probably be okay with it. And so I would try and approach the property, try and make that short sale offer, see if I could discover more about the condition of the home, and find out if they're cooperative at all. If they're not cooperative, then what's going to happen is this property will simply go to auction, because again, whatever mistakes they've made financially, they're not going to come up with that 150 grand. They're just not going to do it. Okay, and they had plenty of time to ask for a modification, by the way. Okay, this is a foreclosing first. They've had plenty of time to request a modification, and if they didn't do it already, then they're going to end up losing the property. So I would make an offer, and when I go to make the offer, I would scope the property out, and then if it turns out it's going to go to auction on Monday, I'd be ready to bid. Okay, but again, set your maximum price, because you don't want to go any higher than that. Okay, next one on Denmead, another Lakewood, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Okay, $498 value. Banks owed $575, upside down by about 100 grand. Okay, so let's open up Denmead in Lakewood. Okay, notice what we got here. I think this is another reverse mortgage. Notice what I've got here is I've got, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. Okay, I may be wrong on that one. But notice we got a loan from 2010 for $428. That loan has blown up to $575. It's also up 150 grand. Okay, but notice something that's peculiar with this one. The trustor is Kimberly Namnath, and that the owners are Ramon Osorio and Victor Valtierra. Okay, this one is kind of weird. Okay, notice also that we're showing a change of ownership took place in 2012 on a loan with a property with a loan from 2010. So now, one of the things that we teach our clients to do is make an offer subject to existing loans. I'm sure you're familiar with that terminology. If you make an offer subject to existing loans, you take over the existing loans on the property and you buy the property that way, okay? Because you're using their loans as your leverage. Now, what's odd about this one is that it looks like they changed ownership, but the question is, did they sell the property, or were they adding owners onto the property for the purposes of prolonging an existing foreclosure? And I'm kind of leaning in that direction. Now, whenever you have a property that has complications, by complications, notice that we're showing a second, but we don't show a figure here. So I don't know what that means. That's why I initially thought this was a reverse mortgage, because a lot of times you'll have a reverse mortgage that has a $1 figure here, and you'll have both documents recorded on the same date. So that was my first inkling. Now, this is a notice of sale. This is set to go on Monday. Now, I want to do another piece of research. I'm going to copy the APN. This is the assessor's parcel number. I just left clicked and dragged and I hit copy. Now I'm going to go back up to the top and I'm going to pick my main page, countyrecordsresearch.com, and I'm going to scroll up to the single property search. And I'm going to put this APN in the third box, the parcel number box. And notice also the 7 is flush up to the left-hand side of the box. Always make sure you flush that number up to the left-hand side of the box. It's important. Then I'm going to hit search. We just want to see what kind of history is in our system on this property. So look what we have now. What we have now is we see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records in our system on this particular property. I call this a foreclosure rap sheet. This is how we see historically what's gone on with this property and what the people living in the property have done. Okay, so notice like on our My Properties folder, we have 2 different types of records in the system. Notices of default at the bottom, notices of sale at the top. Notices of sale always have the sale date and they have the estimated bid. So look at the pattern that we're seeing. in April of 2012, the lender started their foreclosure. So remember, the loans are from 2010, okay? They're showing a purchase date of September of 2012. We're showing the foreclosure started in April of 2012. So right after they issued their notice of default, this person changed title into someone else's name. Okay, that's weird. Okay, and when you see that, that tells you that you've got someone that thinks they're smarter than their lender, and they're going to change title, and they're going to continue the process of not paying. Okay, I've seen this so many times. Okay, so let's look at this notice of default record by clicking on the address, and here we got Kimberly Namnath was the owner in April of 2012. So she was on title as the owner in addition to being on the loan. So it was just her, okay? And now her lender in this case was MetLife. So again, I'm really kind of leaning that this is a reverse mortgage, but maybe I'm wrong. Now, notice the delinquent amount on this is $19,000. So no, I take that back. I don't think this is a reverse mortgage. I think this is a conventional loan, okay? There might be a second here that we're just not getting a figure on. Now, so she was $19,000 in arrear in April, okay? And then in August of that year, they issued a notice of sale. She was still the owner at that time. Okay, so in August of that year, they issued a notice of sale, and she was at that point behind by about $20,000. Okay, so we see that at that point that there was some kind of a change. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the main profile, and I'm going to hit her Zillow. And I'm going to scroll down. I just want to see if Zillow says anything in terms of changes. So this shows the last sale of the property was in 2010. So that confirms my suspicion that she didn't sell the property. She's been doing title transfers. That means that they've been using potentially bankruptcies to postpone the process of the auction, and that she's been in trouble for 5 years since 2012, and that's why they owe as much as they do on this first. I have a gut feeling that there is something here that we're missing on that second. I don't think this is a reverse mortgage at all. I think this is a standard loan. And I think that they've been adding additional names, because notice the et al., this is Latin. When you see Ramon Osorio and Victor Valtierra et al., that means there's a bunch of names here. So they've been adding additional names onto the property, and I think specifically for the purposes of filing bankruptcy to extend the process of foreclosure. Because if you go back and look at these search results, they've been in foreclosure since 2012. And if you look at the estimated minimum bid on each of these notices of sale, it just keeps going up. So their amount owed just keeps climbing, and they keep adding additional parties onto title to file bankruptcy to postpone the process of foreclosure. So you could try and make an offer to these folks, but I think you're blowing in the wind. I think the best thing to do is be prepared to buy at auction, because one of these times the process of bankruptcy will be used up, and the bankruptcy court will say, get out of my courtroom, and the lender will take this property to auction. And I think this lender's desperate. I think this that's a good question. I don't know. Carla's asking if a BK trustee has the authority to accept an offer. I personally think that they cannot get an effective bankruptcy to stick, because if they did, then they wouldn't be adding all these people onto title. I think what's more likely is that they keep adding people to title and filing new bankruptcies, and every time they go through the process, the court throws them out. Eventually you reach a point where the court says, we're not going to hear any more filings, and what happens is then the lender takes it to auction. Okay, and in this particular case, I think that's what's going to happen here. I think the bankruptcy court's going to tell the lender to take it to sale, And once they do, this lender who's frustrated will drop the price. Now, you should go by the property to make sure the condition of the property, because the other fact is this. If these folks have been putting off this foreclosure for all this time, then you've probably got some disrepair issues, you've got deferred maintenance, and you should get a low price because they're going to fight the eviction too. Because birds of a feather are birds of a feather. And what you need to do is be prepared to get a low price, because it's probably not, you're probably not going to get them out of the house right away. Carla, normally the bank will keep the insurance on the property. It's called forced placed insurance if the homeowner is not doing it. And I would be surprised if the bank doesn't have insurance on this property. Okay. Well, this has been Bob with County Records Research. We went a little long today, but we had some very interesting properties, and I want to thank you for attending today's presentation. We will have additional presentations next Wednesday and next Friday, and you're going to see this presentation get uploaded to our YouTube channel with the existing library that we already have. Again, this has been Bob with County Records Research. This has been our April 21st Friday presentation. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.